In this video, I will show you how to track conversions with Microsoft Ads, including enhanced conversions. Also, I will mention some things related to consent mode, so make sure to watch this video till the end. Here I am in the Microsoft Advertising Platform interface, and to get started first, you need to create a UET tag, and that can be done by going to Conversions and UET Tag. In this account, I already have the tag, but I will show you how to create this from scratch. So click Create, then Create UET Tag, and let's give it a name. I will call this test UET Tag. Then you can add the description if you want, select the industry. For example, I will select this one, then click this checkbox. I don't need Microsoft Clarity, so I will just click Save and Next. Then I will install the tag myself, so click here and click Next. I will talk a bit about consent mode later in this video, so for now let's keep this disabled and then click Next. Then finally click Done. Once you create your UET tag, open it, so you can click either here or go right here. And here you will get the UET tag ID. We will need this in Google Tag Manager, which is installed on my test website. If you have no idea how to install Google Tag Manager, then I will post a link to a tutorial below the video. Here, let's add a new tag, click New, then Tag Configuration, and here in the search field, start typing Microsoft. And then you will get this tag right here. Click it. You are asked to enter the UET tag ID, so let's copy it from the interface and paste it right here. We will talk about enhanced conversions a bit later in this video, but for now, let's keep all the other settings as they are, and then let's fire this tag on all pages. So I selected initialization all pages trigger. This is your main tracking code that Microsoft asks you to add on each page. When the visitor lands on your website from your Microsoft ad, then this tag will also create some cookies needed for attribution. Finally, let's name this tag. Also, one more thing to mention is that this tag will also track the page view events. So click Save. Now we can do a quick test and check whether this tag is working. To make things a bit simpler, you could install a Chrome extension to your browser, and that extension is called UET Tag Helper. I will post a link to it below the video. Once you install it, the icon will appear right here. And now let me open the preview mode. Then I will enter the URL of the page where I want to test this, and then click Connect. So when the Tag Assistant has connected, go to UET Tag Helper, click it, and then you will need to enable it and refresh the page. So on this page, in my preview mode, I see that the Microsoft Ads tag fired, and then I see that something was found by this extension. I can click it, and it will tell me that the page load event was tracked. This was initiated by the tag. And if you want to look at the list of parameters that were included in the request, here they are. By the way, if you find this tutorial helpful, then click the subscribe button. This is the best free way to support our channel. I would really appreciate it, and it will help me dedicate more time to creating tutorials for you. Now let's track the conversion. So here on this demo page, if I click the purchase, I will be redirected to the order confirmation page. And in my case, in the data layer, in the preview mode, I can see the purchase event. And if I expand it, I will see what kind of information is available right here. We have user email. This could be used for enhanced conversions. Later, I will show you how to do that. And then since we have some purchase data, we can send it as well. For example, we can send the transaction ID, the currency, the order total, so that Microsoft would know how much revenue did our business get from a particular conversion. So let's go to Microsoft Ads interface, and in the conversions, you can click Conversion Goals, or you can just click Conversion Goals right here. To create a new conversion, click Create, then select Business Website and click Next. Then I will do the manual setup and Next. Here I have to select the goal category, and in my case, I'm going to track purchase, therefore I will select this. And we are going to send an event to Microsoft, because with that event, we also could send some of this information. So select event, then next, then let's call this, let's say purchase. then the revenue. For each purchase, the revenue value might differ. Therefore, I will select conversion action value may vary. And here you should select the currency. So in my case, I think it will be euros. Yes, it will be euros. So I will select euro right here. And here you should enter the default value. If for some reason, when you track the conversion, the revenue value is not sent, then you should enter some default value as a fallback. For example, it could be the average order value or the minimum order value or something like that. Just for sake of demonstration, I will keep this as €1. Then we have count. So for purchases, I track all purchases, which means that if the same visitor makes a couple of purchases in the same session, which is rare but possible, I want to track all those purchases. But if I was working with form submission tracking, maybe lead magnets, then I would track unique, because if the same visitor in the same session downloads 2 ebooks of mine, then I don't care about how many ebooks. I just care that the user converted. So in that case, I would switch to unique. But in case of purchases, I will use this one. Then I will keep all the other settings as they are and click next. We will later talk about enhanced conversions. So for now, I will select that I don't want to use it and click save and next. I already have installed UET. Of course, I have not published in Google Tag Manager container, but it is there. So I will say that I have already installed it and click next. Then I will select the manual installation, click next. And here I have to select what kind of parameters am I going to send. So in this case, since this is just a purchase conversion, so I will just keep action equals to purchase. Later, we will use this particular value in Google Tag Manager as well. And for me, this is enough. If you were tracking, for example, form submissions, then maybe your action would look like this, form submission. And if you want to track the conversions only of a particular form, then you could add another parameter, which is label. And here you could enter some form name, for example, lead magnet or contact form or something like that. And then later you would use this label in your Google Tag Manager tag. But in my case, I'm working with purchases. I want to track all purchases. So one condition here is enough. And here I will send an event and it will give me some instructions here. But since I'm going to work with Google Tag Manager, I kind of don't need it. The only thing that we need to keep in mind is that this is the event name, which is called action. Then we will need to send the revenue value and currency. Click save and next, and then click done. So one thing that we need to remember right now is that the action is called purchase, all lowercase, and we need to use that in Google Tag Manager. Let's go to Google Tag Manager. Then I will make a copy of this tag to save some time and click 3 dots, copy. And then here we keep the same UET tag ID. And here in the track type, we will select custom conversion. Technically, you could also use, let's say, e-commerce or define your own. That would also work, but the steps of the configuration would slightly differ. Therefore, let's select custom conversion. Then here in the action, we need to enter the same value that we had in the conversion settings right here. So if I go to that conversion, and then click next, quickly check, then next, next, then next, manual installation, next, and here. Here we have the action, which is purchase. So the same value must be entered right here. That way, when we send this conversion to Microsoft, they will know that we are sending purchase, which should be connected to this particular conversion. We don't have categories or labels anywhere in the settings. Therefore, we will keep those 2 fields empty. But if you had some label here, for example, as I've shown previously, form submission or something like that, and then here we have lead magnet or contact form, then in that case, form submission would go here and lead magnet would go right here. So don't forget that, but again, I will keep the purchase. Then event value, but if you remember what the code was saying after we created the conversion goal, we were told to use the revenue value. So event value in this case can be empty. Instead, we will need to send the revenue value. And in the data layer, I already have that. It's inside the value right here. So e-commerce.value, because value is inside of the e-commerce. In your case, the data structure might be different. Maybe in your case, data layer just contains order total or something like that. So whatever you have in your data layer, you will need to adapt. And in my case, I'm going to create a data layer variable, which is e-commerce.value, because that's what my data layer looks like. So here in the revenue value, I will click the button, and here I don't have any variable for that. So I will click plus to create a variable, and its type is data layer variable. Here I will enter e-commerce.value because that's the structure of my data. Then let's name this variable like this and click save. Then we have currency. In my example, all purchases happen in euros, so I could simply just enter euros like that. But if in your case you're working with a company that supports multiple currencies, then you could create another variable, which in my case is e-commerce.currency, and that variable could be inserted right here. So when this conversion happens, then we're going to send a purchase event. And together with that event, we're going to send the order total and also currency. Now we need to configure when this tag is going to fire. In my case, it fires when event name is purchase. In your case, it might be different. It might be order completed, transaction, or something like that. So again, you will need to adapt, but in my case, the event name is purchase. By the way, if you have no idea what data layer is and how it works, then I will post some resources in the description of this video. Now back to the trigger. So event name is purchase. Therefore, we are going to go to Google Tag Manager, click the pencil in triggering, remove this trigger, then click anywhere, and we are going to create a new trigger. So click plus right here, then trigger configuration and custom event. Here we have to type the exact value, which is right here. So copy that without quotation marks, paste it, and then let's name this trigger, click save. And the basic setup of conversion tracking is done. When the purchase happens in the data layer, our tag will take the revenue value and will send that purchase event to Microsoft. Finally, let's name this tag and click save. Let's test if this is working. Click preview to refresh the preview mode. On this page, I still have the UET Tag Helper enabled. So right now, the purchase still is not made. So if I click the Tag Helper, I will see the event. If for some reason the extension does not work, or maybe you are using a different browser, then here's an alternative option. So you will need to open the developer tools. On different browsers, the instructions differ, but on Chrome, for example, you can click three dots right here, more tools, developer tools, then go to network, and here you can enter Bing and reload the page. Then you will see the request, actually multiple of them. So this one is related to page view, or in other words, page load. Also, this one is related to consent. For now, the consent is displayed as denied because we're not sending any consent information together with our purchase. But later in this video, I will share some details about that. So right now the page view tag has fired. Let's go to the website and I will complete the purchase. Click here. Once I am moved to the confirmation page, then let's go to Tag Assistant. On purchase, the tag fired. Then I go back to the website, and here I will see that Tag Helper spotted two things. Let's click that. The first one is the page load, but the second one is the custom event. And if I expand it, I will see that my event action is purchase. Together with that purchase, we are also sending revenue value and currency. By the way, did you know that I have a bunch of free ebooks on Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics? So if you want to better learn these topics, then click the link below the video, download those ebooks, and get started. Now, if you want, you can also implement enhanced conversions, which means that you can also send user email or user phone number with your conversions. Of course, if the visitor gave consent for that, and if that information is available in the data layer or somewhere else on the page. So if you decided to start sending enhanced conversions to Microsoft, first go to conversions, conversion goals, open your conversion. And then in one of the steps, you will need to tell Microsoft that this will be an enhanced conversion. So in the first step, click Next, then keep all other settings as they are. And then here, turn on enhanced conversions. Then click this checkbox to agree with terms of use and save Next. Then yes here, save next, and here you will see the PID parameter that we are going to use a bit later. Then click next, manual installation, next, and then select track event and save next and done. Now we are ready to proceed with the actual technical setup. In the documentation of enhanced conversions, we see that there is a parameter called PID, and with that parameter, we should be sending the user data, phone number and email address, or at least one of them. Now let's take a look at Google Tag Manager and see how this can be done. If you have user data available on the page even before your page view tag fires, which means that my tag fires here. So if you have user data somewhere earlier, maybe before initialization, maybe even before consent initialization, then here's what you could do. You could go to your page view tag or page load, then edit it, click this checkbox, and then here you could insert variables that will return email and phone number. If Microsoft UET tag fires with this information, then all subsequent Microsoft tags that fire on that same page will inherit the user data. But in my case, that's a problem because the page view tag fires first and the user data becomes available later. So I need to send this user email with the purchase event. But if I go to the purchase tag, it does not contain the enhanced conversions section. That checkbox related to enhanced conversions was available only for the page view event. So here we could add an additional parameter ourselves. Click add parameter here, and we have to give it a name. This name is mentioned in the documentation, which is PID. So enter it right here, but its value must be an object, not just a plain text email. So for that, we will need to create a custom JavaScript variable. So for now, let's close this, then go back. And first, I will create a data layer variable for user email. In your case, you might have a different parameter. Let's go to variables, then new, variable configuration, data layer variable, and enter user email, exactly like this. If in your case the name is different, then use that. Then let's name this variable like this and click save. Then we will need to create another variable, which is custom JavaScript variable. And here is the code. Type function, then open and close parentheses, and then open and close curly braces. Here we have to enter return and then type curly braces again, opening and closing. This, whatever is between these two curly braces, will be an object. So we can hit enter and then type email, colon, and then we will insert data layer variable for user email. You should start typing double curly braces and then find that variable right here. So this variable will return an object, and inside that object, we will have email. If in your data layer you have email and phone number, then your code will look like this. It's important to add comma right here and then type phone number exactly like this, then colon, and then insert another variable that contains the phone number. But in my case, I just have email, so I will delete this. Then let's name this variable, for example, like this, and user data for Microsoft Ads, and click save. So we have this variable, and we will use it as the value of PID parameter in Microsoft Tag. So let's go to tags, then purchase, then expand it, add a parameter. Let me check again its name, and it is PID. So name is PID, and value is that custom JavaScript variable that returns the object. Because in the documentation, it also shows the object right here. So let's go to Google Tag Manager, click add, and click save. Now let's test if this is working. So I will reload the preview mode by clicking the preview button, click continue. Then on this page, I will check whether UET Tag Helper is active, and it is. Now I will make the purchase. And on this page, let's check the UET Tag Helper again. And I see the custom event. This is our purchase. So let's expand it. And here we see the event action, then revenue value, currency. But we should also be looking for PID. And if you send email, you will see EM equals and then hashed value of that email. So if you see something like this, this is correct. If you're sending phone number, then you will also see PN in this value right here. So this looks correct. And now you have configured enhanced conversions for Microsoft Ads. Once you are done with testing, then you should click submit and your changes would go live. However, for some time, the conversion and the UET tag will still be displayed as no recent conversions, or in the UET tag, you will see unverified. So this takes more time, usually up to 24 hours. So you will need a bit more patience here. But if you check tomorrow and if your UET tag is firing on all pages, then definitely this status will change. And if you start getting some conversions, then you will start seeing them right here. I mean, you will start seeing the status recording conversions. And if you scroll to the right, you will also see the number of conversions. Then let's briefly talk about consent mode. In certain countries, for example, European Union countries, Microsoft is now requiring that you also send consent data with your conversions. For example, right now, if I go to the UET Tag Helper and I expand the request, I see that the consent is denied. But if the consent was actually given, then this should be changed to granted. So how can you do that? Well, the consent mode setup is a separate topic and I have a separate tutorial on that. So if you want to learn more, I will post a link to it below the video. But what's interesting is that if your website is already using Google's consent mode, then a quick solution would look like this. You go to your Google Tag Manager, then open your page view tag, then click here, consent settings, and then keep this checkbox enabled, which is enable consent updates from GTM. Right now it is experimental, so you will still need to test this, but based on what I've seen, it looks like this is working fine. And maybe if you are watching this video further in the future, maybe this will no longer be experimental. Maybe it will be a stable functionality. But this checkbox right here is designed to read the consent mode of Google. And if consent mode status changes, for example, if consent is given to marketing, then Microsoft Ads tags will also reuse that information. So instead of sending an event with consent denied, you will be sending conversions with consent granted. But as I've said, if on the other hand, you're not using Google consent mode, and I'm talking about consent mode version 2, then I have a separate tutorial on how to configure the consent mode for Microsoft. So check the description of this video. Oh, and one more thing to keep in mind is that if you decide to implement consent mode or you decide to reuse Google's consent mode, then go to Conversions, UET tag, and then next to your UET tag, click the pencil, and then here click Next, then install the tag yourself, Next, and then here enable consent mode, and then Next, and done. But if Microsoft consent mode does not apply to your situation, maybe you're operating in a different region, then do not enable it in the UET tag, and also in Google Tag Manager, when you open your page view tag, then here you can disable this feature right here and then click Save. And that is how you can track Microsoft Ads conversions with Google Tag Manager. If you found this video useful, hit the like button. That will help me understand what videos do you like and what should I create in the future. Also, if you want to learn more about Google Tag Manager, then subscribe to this channel. My name is Julius, this is Analytics Mania, and I'll see you in the next video.